Hey everyone, my name is Janet. Now let's dim the lights.
Oh, the horror!
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things spooky, uninviting, and downright horrific. As I've mentioned before, I do not take myself too seriously, and I hope that you don't either. I'm just here to provide lighthearted, digestible reviews, so if you are looking for something more hardcore and straightforward in terms of movie reviews, there are channels that do that. I'm just not one of them. All right, so we've made it to the end of May 2022, which is my first full month on YouTube. I can't believe it. It's just been a really interesting process. I've gotten to know myself a lot more. I realize that I say and so yeah all the time, and I try to edit it out as best as I can. So yeah, there's that. I'm working on it. I'm learning. So let's dive into what I watched this month. We're going to start with The Northman, which was directed and co-written by Robert Eggers, whose previous works include The Witch and The Lighthouse. I have mentioned in a previous episode that I'm not a huge fan of The Witch, nor did I love The Lighthouse, but I did decently enjoy this one. The Northman is a mythological thriller that tells a tale of a Viking named Amleth, played by Alexander Skarsgård, who goes out seeking retribution for his father's death and his mother's kidnapping, and finds himself embattled in a rageful and gory clash of the titans. As stereotypically masculine as this movie feels, what with all of its glistening eight-packs and moments of primal yelling and running at each other with weapons, it's actually intended to satirize the absurdity of toxic masculinity. I thought this one was pretty fun. It had a lot of good action scenes and, more importantly, a lot of creative, gory moments, which you know I love. The only thing that I wasn't a fan of was the fact that it felt like the message of the film was being thrown in your face at all times, but also really did present itself as like a tropey dude film, all the chest beating and fighting for honor and glory. And so I think the message just got kind of lost. For that reason, I would give this one 5 out of 10. I was honestly pretty underwhelmed. The Northman is still playing in select theaters, or you can purchase it online on most streaming services. Now let's talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, I know that this and The Northman are not technically considered horror films, but y'all, this was a zombie flick. It was amazing. Now, I knew going into it that Sam Raimi had directed it, who is of Evil Dead fame, as well as countless other incredible horror movies. And that is the only reason I actually went and saw it. If I'm being honest, I've never actually seen any of the Doctor Strange movies before this. I really only know about him in the context of the Avengers movies and all the other Marvel movies. I've just never really been a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch, nor the Doctor Strange character. It just felt, I don't know. Going into it, I just assumed that the zombiness of it all would get watered down, considering that this is still a Marvel movie at the end of the day. But no, it fully delivered. There were nods to Raimi's previous works. I can't give anything away, but it pushed the boundaries of Marvel and horror, and I was really impressed, and it was such a fun ride. I mean, Marvel movies are always fantastic, and this one was extra special to me. The film centers around Doctor Strange as he teams up with a new, younger protagonist, America Chavez, who comes to him from another multiverse. Together, they must battle obstacles from their own respective universes, as well as each other's, in a quest to save mankind. Again. As much as I want to talk about one specific aspect of the film, it would totally ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen it. So I won't go there, but I will say that the director has definitely made more than a few nods to his previous works. And you will see Easter eggs spattered throughout the film, which made it a really fun watch. Now, I'm not really sure how die-hard Doctor Strange fans feel about this one, but I thought that it was a really fun deviation from the regular Marvel structure. I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is still playing in movie theaters and not yet available on streaming. Next up, I binged the new Hulu Candy series in 2 days. I'm a total sucker for true crime, and I love an adaptation when it's done well. And I also love when a story reveals the big shock factor moment in the very beginning, because it just means that there's so much more to unravel and to be revealed to us, and nothing is ever as it seems from the beginning. This 5-episode miniseries is based off the real-life story of Candy Montgomery, a woman who murdered her friend with an axe. Jessica Biel, who plays Candy and also executive produces this series, did an outstanding job playing a seemingly perfect housewife with a closet chock full of dark secrets. As the story unravels, so do her alibis, and in the end of the show, we see her stand trial for the murder of Betty Gore, played by Melanie Lynskey of Yellow Jackets fame. What I think is funny about this one is that HBO Max is currently developing the exact same show, but with Elizabeth Olsen set to play Candy, and unfortunately, Hulu beat them to the punch. You bet your ass I'll still be watching the HBO one. And maybe I'll do an episode comparing the two of them. But that one doesn't come out until late 2022, I believe, so we'll just have to wait and see which one did it the best. This one I would give an 8 out of 10, and Candy is now streaming on Hulu. Lastly, what better way to wrap up a wrap-up than with the god-awful mess that is Shark Bait. I knew this film was going to be dog shit going into it, and it did not disappoint, but I will say that for a shitty B-horror classic teen ensemble movie, the acting was decent. It was slightly believable, which made it a little bit easier to watch. Sharkbait starts off strong, opening with an alcohol-fueled beach party in Mexico where a group of friends are celebrating their last spring break of college. As they're preparing to fly back home to Kansas, they decide to go on one last jet ski spree, and needless to say, they end up missing their flight. As they fight for survival, stranded out at sea, they must use any resources they can get their hands on to stave off their deadly marine enemies and get back to shore. This film felt more like a stranded out to sea survival film than a shark film, because where the fuck were the sharks? I actually made a point to check the timestamp when we see our first shark encounter. I mean, you'll see a few glimpses here and there leading up to it, but we don't even get a proper shark attack, and even then it wasn't amazing, but we don't get any kind of shark activity until the 1 hour mark, which really goes to show that this movie was boring more than anything. They're just sitting out to sea on a jet ski, fighting about classic teen drama that could have happened anywhere else. The CGI sharks weren't awful, but I do think that they probably blew their budget on the likeness and couldn't afford to put the sharks in the movie for more than a total of 2 minutes. I'd give this one a 2 out of 10. And that's being generous. You get 1 point for the mediocre acting and 1 point for the semi-likeness of the sharks that we barely get to see. Sharkbait is now available to rent on all streaming platforms, but I paid for it, so you don't have to. Please do not spend your money on this film. So that is all I have for you today. If you do want to check out a comprehensive list of everything that came out in May in terms of horror releases, I do have that up in my Letterboxd in my May 2022 list, which is completely done at this point. I do also have June up if you want to go check out some upcoming films. I will continue to add to that throughout the month, so just keep an eye out for that. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it and you want to subscribe to it, and we'll see you next week.